if Jesus walked on water, I can at least stand the rain.
Compared to Socrates, spitting out prophecies, a legend in the making. They build this statue just to honor me, dreaming consciously, insomnia induced, waiting for my moment.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Deadpool Gaming, with an episode, and the first episode of Origin Story, where I break down different comic book characters and give you their basic bios. So subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notified when I upload new bios, share it with your homies, comment down below what character you guys would want to see or know about. And with that said, let's get started on today's character, Deadpool, aka the Merc with the Mouth, aka Wade Wilson, an ex-soldier diagnosed with cancer. He entered the Weapon X program, yes, the same program that Wolverine was a part of. He entered the program to try and cure his cancer by recreating Wolverine's mutant healing factor. And while the procedure worked, it also gave Wade advanced regenerative abilities, but also left him physically and mentally scarred. Eventually, he adopted the name Deadpool and became an effective if wildly unpredictable mercenary with a deranged sense of humor and an uncanny ability to sense another world outside his reality. Now, when I say sense another world outside his reality, I'm talking about the fourth wall, the fourth dimension, our dimension, the actual dimension where we humans live and we read comic books. Deadpool as a character is actually aware that he is a comic book character, which honestly is one of the reasons why I love him so much, because there's not many characters that are aware that they are a comic book character. So as far as his actual origin story is, unfortunately little is known about like his childhood, and that's mainly due to like the Weapon X program and like the use of like mind wiping drugs, and also the fact that he just honestly just doesn't remember, because Deadpool has multiple personalities. He has two different personalities inside of his head that he actually often talks to. And normally it's shown by different comic book panels. If you're reading a comic, the artist does a great job at, whoever's drawing it does a great job at differentiating between which voice is talking at which time. But yeah, largely due to like conflicting memories and like a damaged psyche. You know, he believed his father had abandoned his mother while she was pregnant with him. And later on, he actually thought that his mother had died when he was 5, leaving him to cope with like an abusive father who was eventually killed by one of Wade's friends. Eventually, this turned out to be untrue, and that his parents were alive and living in Canada, which is actually pretty funny because Ryan Reynolds, the man who famously portrayed Deadpool, is also Canadian. So that's actually pretty interesting. Now, getting back to the Weapon X program, now a lot of you may know the Weapon X program, as I said earlier, as the same program that Wolverine was a part of. When Wade first entered the program, he was given hope when he became a guinea pig for the Weapon X program, which basically implanted him with a healing factor that pretty much came from Wolverine. With his cancer in temporary remission, Wade became a covert operative for Canada's Department H. On the verge of dying, Wade fell in love with the physical embodiment of death. Yes, that death, actual death. A little side note, Thanos was also in love with death. So it created a very interesting kind of like love triangle in comic books that grasped a lot of people's attention. And I'll get back to this part later because it actually kind of plays into his powers and ability. And after powers and abilities, I will then get into recommended reading for you guys. So after he fell in love with the embodiment of death, he became a part of a quote-unquote Deadpool set up by guards who would bet on the next fatality. So kind of like in the movie where, you know, Wade and his best friend slash team member, Weasel, they would, they had the bar. I think it was called Sister Margaret's in the movie, but they had the bar, and frequently in the bar they would have these like fights, these random fights that would break out, and contestants were a part of what's called the Deadpool. So it's nice to see that the movie, kind of took reference from that. But Wade survived every test. The sadistic head guard Ajax, and then we know Ajax from the movie. Ajax was portrayed as the main villain in Deadpool 1, who was, they kind of switched things up for the movie. Ajax was the guy who initially experimented on him. But in the comics, he tried to kill him, but the brutal attack accidentally triggered Wade's fully healing abilities. He escaped the facility along with other inmates, mockingly adopting the name Deadpool. And after that, he basically returned to his mercenary activities. Now, as Deadpool, as this different alias, Wade kind of gained a reputation as like a lethal, erratic, and like loudmouth, sarcastic assassin for hire. He worked for a lot of big names that you guys may recognize: Kingpin, the Wizard, Hammerhead, and at one point he even worked for the Canadian government, which he obtained a teleportation device, which you never give Deadpool a teleportation device. So that's just, that's not a good thing. He also played a crucial role in ending the Beyonder Secret Wars, where, he kind of became aware of his nature as a fictional character. So sometime later down the road, he was employed by a time-traveling arms dealer named Tolliver, who hired him to kill Cable and the New Mutants, and in reality, Cable turned out to be Tolliver's father. Deadpool was then defeated by Cable and his young chargers, the New Mutants, and later recognized as X-Force. So New Mutants, is a bunch of young kids that rode around with Cable, and then later on they became known as X-Force, which we know X-Force to be Deadpool 2's kind of go-to squad, Suicide Squad, literally a Suicide Squad, if you get my drift. But during the battle, Tolliver seemingly perished. So I actually should have mentioned this in the first place, but Deadpool first appeared in New Mutants issue number 98 back in February of 1991, which is actually interesting enough, a month after I was born. And one of his first, when we were first introduced to Deadpool, his mission that was given to him by Tolliver was actually one of the first times we saw Deadpool. Actually, we see him breaking in and fighting Cable and fighting the New Mutants. He loses. He does lose. He ends up losing, and he is quote unquote mailed back to Tolliver. So New Mutants number 98. I highly suggest you guys check out that issue if you have the money to get a 9 grade or higher, or if you have a Marvel Unlimited subscription, you can read it on there. So now let's get into powers and abilities. Like I said earlier, Wade does have an advanced healing factor. It's actually suspected and theorized that he has the best healing factor in the Marvel universe, mainly because, and now there's a lot of people that will say that his healing factor is better than Wolverine's, which I kind of have to agree, mainly because it's been shown that whenever Wolverine sustains like moderate damage, mainly like having a limb severed or what have you, he has to reattach that limb, whereas Deadpool does not. Deadpool, if his arm gets cut off, if his legs get cut off, if his hand gets cut off, a new limb will just regrow from that point of when it was cut off. He's also an expert marksman and hand-to-hand combat. Now, it's also speculated that because he has this healing factor, that the healing factor actually increases his stamina and it increases his overall adrenaline, so he's able to go longer while doing physical activities than the average human, mainly due to his healing factor. And like I said earlier, he also has a teleportation device that he uses to travel instantly from one place to another. Now, earlier I mentioned how him and Thanos was in sort of a love triangle of sorts. Now, this storyline was very interesting. So Thanos actually, to put it short, Thanos became in a way jealous and envious of Deadpool and Death's relationship. So in order to keep Death from Deadpool and vice versa, Thanos essentially made Deadpool immortal. So that way Deadpool could not die, therefore he could not be with Death. Very, very petty move, Thanos. Very petty move. And yes, this is the same Thanos from the highly acclaimed MCU universe from the Marvel movies. But yeah, so Deadpool is immortal, which is very, very OP if you ask me. However, I'm pretty sure he's not immortal currently. I think he actually lost his immortality over the last couple of years, if I remember. So, getting into like essential storylines, you have Deadpool Classic Volume 1, you have Deadpool Classic Volume 2, and then you have Deadpool and Cable issues 1 to 6. This is basically like an odd couple type of team up, where Deadpool and Cable become tethered together essentially. So it's Deadpool as a character has a lot of depth to him. He's been shown to have a heart. He has sort of a code. To my knowledge, I've never really seen him kill women and children, even if they're on his hit list, even if he got hired to do so. He is an anti-hero, so let me break down, for those of you that don't know, what the differences are between a hero, an anti-hero, and a villain. So a hero is essentially kind of like a Superman type of character. So Superman, assuming he's not being mind controlled like usual, Superman normally does not kill his enemies. He doesn't kill his enemies. He normally captures them. An anti-hero could be someone like Deadpool, or maybe Venom, or Punisher. So somebody who is doing things for good, but doesn't mind killing the bad guys to achieve that quote-unquote good goal. And then you have villains, and villains are your obvious, like Kingpin, Carnage. You have the Joker, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's pretty much wraps it up for this this character origin story for Deadpool. And like I said earlier, guys, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. I already said subscribe to the channel. Like the video, share it with your homies, and like I said, comment down below what characters you guys would love to learn more about. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Origin Story, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.